Hi, I'm Kev Johnson, Senior Systems Engineer at Runecast Solutions. In this session, I'm going to be talking you through how you can really get yourself an easy mode when you're dealing with risk and compliance. So just in case you didn't see the previous couple of sessions, Recast Analyzer, the folks who built the company, the premise was that 90% of problems within environments are already documented. So we want to make sure that you're running your environments in compliance with all of the different security standards, all of these things. So we can scan automatically against standards such as PCI DSS, HIPAA, ISO 27001, GDPR, all of these different things across many different products. Recast Analyzer is a product, it's a virtual appliance that lives on premises, and you point it at all of your different sources of data, so things like Kubernetes clusters, vSphere clusters, NSX managers, Horizon, all of these things we can pull data from. We can also pull data from public clouds like AWS, and also, if you're running your Kubernetes in those public clouds as well. We cover a whole bunch of different security standards, as you can see on the left-hand side. So things like DSSSTIG, which are probably less relevant within the UK, but PCI DSS is definitely relevant. A lot of our customers work towards CIS, even if they don't have regulatory compliance requirements. NIST, GDPR, ISO 27001. Something that will be coming very soon, in fact, may even have been released by the time this video airs, is support for Cyber Essentials, which I know is very important within the UK. So we're going to help with the automation of reporting and showing you what you need to do in order to get to a compliant state. If you're working with larger environments, we also have a feature called Enterprise Console, which you can use to really kind of centralize all of this reporting capability. So you've got this view across all of your different environments, regardless of where they are. We do have some managed service providers who use this to provide these kind of insights to their customers, but also larger environments, larger enterprise customers too. So the thing I really want to help you with, my background, prior to joining Runecast, I worked for VMware, but before that, I worked for a team of consultants, and the company that I worked for were focused very specifically on cybersecurity. We did a lot of work with the UK MOD, central government, those kind of organizations, also the finance sector. And, compliance is a real problem. Security and compliance aren't the same thing by any stretch of the imagination, but if you can get to a compliant state, it's a really good place to begin. But yeah, what would typically happen is once a year, you'd have this guy would come in and he'd say, oh yeah, we're gonna have an audit in 3 weeks' time. We need to make sure we pass the audit. So everything else gets dropped. So we want to help you avoid this guy. And the easiest way to avoid this guy is to make sure that you've got visibility into your compliance, your security posture, any risks in your environment. And we can do that using Runecast Analyzer. So let's show you how we do that. So this is the Runecast Analyzer user interface, and we cover a whole bunch of different things like, we'll show you where your risks of purple screens of death are, because if you've got a risk of a purple screen of death, then that's an availability risk. That's part of the confidentiality, integrity, availability triad there. So if you kick one of the legs off that stool, information security falls flat on its face. But one of the things that's really important to a lot of our customers is, just being able to get a handle on what's going on in their environments. And so our largest customer actually is a service provider in Europe, and they bought Runecast Analyzer specifically because they were struggling with PCI DSS compliance. So let's take a look at PCI DSS. But as you can see, we have a whole bunch of other standards in here as well. You just turn on the features that you're interested in. So if we look at PCI DSS, the first struggle that we really have as a systems administrator is we don't really understand what the auditor is talking about. So an auditor will come to you and say, okay, right, well, so we've got this domain here, which is to build and maintain a secure network. Can you show me how you are handling milestone 2, control ID 1.1.4? And the first thing you're going to say there is, excuse me, what? And then the second thing is you're probably going to say, excuse me, what again, because they'll probably read a little bit more of this text here. So within Runecast Analyzer, we include all of the text from the standard. So we can say, these standards are written from a technology agnostic perspective. They're not about vSphere. They're not about NSX. They're about a wider, more high-level approach to how you handle security and compliance. So the first thing that we do that's really helpful here is we take this information and we give you a technical description. We give you a translation that makes sense to sysadmins. And so from here, we can see, for example, this specific control ID. And what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have the ESXi host firewall enabled. Now, this is enabled by default, but that doesn't mean that you can't, maybe you're troubleshooting something and you disable the firewall temporarily for some reason or other. Now, that then means that your management interface is potentially at more risk than it necessarily needs to be. So we're going to tell you how you can audit this manually. So you can use ESX CLI, Power CLI, there's a number of different methods of doing this. And if you do find that this is an issue, then we're going to show you how to remediate this as well. From a findings perspective, this findings tab is really important because this shows you where your exposure is as well. So we can see this one specific ESXi host has got the host firewall disabled. So we know that's where we need to focus our efforts. We can build pretty robust reporting capabilities as well. So maybe your auditors want to speak to you about milestones 2 and 4, and you're specifically interested in vSphere and NSXV, but maybe you want to look at the AWS side of things as well. So we've got AWS in there too. And we can kick out reports here as well. So once we've built this custom view, we can kick out an Excel report or a PDF that shows you exactly where your problems are. And then you can hand that across to your auditors or your internal security staff and say, okay, this is where we are right now. Where do you want me to start? One of the other cool things that we have is this capability of customizing rules. So some of the rules can be customized. And as an example of some here, so we've got one here whereby we need to establish a password policy for password complexity using ESXi. So ESXi uses the Linux PAM module to specify how complex your passwords need to be. And again, we've got the technical description of Pci Dss detail in here. But what we can do is we can customize these findings. So maybe we've got an area that is specifically higher security, and we actually want to say this as it's highlighted here is the default value that Pci Dss mandates. Now, maybe your internal standards say we want to go above and beyond that. So we're gonna say you must have 25 characters in your passphrase, for example. So we can come in here, we can define these custom values, and we can scope them down to a cluster. Or, we could do it at the top level. We could apply it to all vCenters if that's what we wanted to do. But we're going to scope it down to a cluster because that's typically how you would address these higher security requirements. You're only going to apply them where they're actually necessary. The last thing I really want to show you very quickly is our auto remediation. So let's say, for example, you are working towards PCI DSS compliance. What we've got is a plugin for vRealize Orchestrator. Now, you may or may not have vRealize Orchestrator in your environment, but if you've got vCenter, you're licensed for vRealize Orchestrator, so you can deploy it and you can use our plugin. The plugin takes all the hard work out of it, so all we do is we connect this to a Runecast Analyzer instance and a vCenter server instance. We then need to select a specific security profile. So I'll select PCI DSS here, and then we select an object type to remediate. So we'll go with virtual machines first, and then we can come back, we can do distributed port groups, we can do ESXi hosts, etc., etc. If I just hit submit here, what's going to happen is Orchestrator is going to connect to both the Runecast Analyzer appliance and also the vCenter server appliance. It's going to pull back a list of objects, so virtual machines in this case, that aren't compliant with the standard that we selected, so PCI DSS in this case. And what we can do here then is we can select, whichever objects we want to remediate. We might want to remediate all of them. We might want to just remediate a couple, and then we accept that. And then this list here, this array will get populated with all of the configuration items that are not compliant with the standard. So here we can see there's a lot of things in here. Now we might want to remediate all of them. We might only want to remediate a small number of them. So we can take some out here. We can select a bunch of different things, and then we hit accept. And then once you hit submit, what's going to happen is Orchestrator will kick off a workflow that will bring all of those objects in line with the standard. So it's been a bit of a rush run through there. If you want to learn more, by all means, please do get in touch. You can set up a free trial at runecast.com. You can reach us at innovate@runecast.com, and we'd be happy to organize a deep dive to go into any of these features with you in far more depth than we can in 10 minutes. Or you can tweet us at Runecast, or you can get me personally if you want to get hold of me. If you've got any questions about this presentation or anything else that I've covered today, I'm at Kev_Johnson. On that note, please enjoy the rest of Define Tomorrow, and I hope to hear from you soon.